Now in this section I am going to discuss about the corrosion prone areas. Discussed briefly in the section are most of the trouble areas common to all aircraft. However, this coverage is not necessarily complete and may be amplified and expanded to cover the special characteristic of the particular aircraft model involved by referring to the applicable maintenance manual. Modern airplanes are made of thin, reactive metals which can tolerate very little loss of strength. One of the most important functions of the A&P technicians on an annual or 100-hour inspection is to check the entire aircraft for indication of corrosion, which could degrade the strength of the structure. Almost all parts of an airplane are subject to this type of damage, but certain areas are most prone than others. Number one is engine exhaust area or engine trail areas. Both reciprocating and turbine engine generate their power by converting chemical energy from a hydrocarbon fuel into heat energy because of the inefficiency of the engine. Much of this heat along with energy-rich gases passes out of the engine through the exhaust. The gases contain all of the constituents for a potent electrolyte, and because of the elevated temperature, corrosion can form all the more rapidly. Exhaust area must be carefully inspected and all exhaust residue removed before corrosion has a chance to start. Cracks and seams in the exhaust track are prime areas for corrosion. Fairings on the nacelles, hinges and inspection door fasteners all contain crevices which invite the formation of corrosion. In this respect, some few lines may be some common, may be some different. Let's take it from the another text. Both jet and reciprocating engine exhaust deposits are very corrosive, as we have read, and give particular trouble where gaps, seams, hinges and fairings are located down the exhaust path and where deposits may be trapped in and not reached by normal cleaning methods. Special attention should be paid to areas around rivet sides and the skin crevices. Fairing and access plates in the exhaust area should be removed for inspections. Exhaust deposits will build up in remote areas such as the impenetrable surfaces should not be overlooked, because overlooked build-up in the areas will be slower and sometimes completely absent, but it has become a problem on some currently operating aircraft. Now number 2 is battery compartments and vents. Batteries store electrical energy by converting it to chemical energy and are therefore active chemical plants, complete with environmental polluting exhaust. Airplanes having lead acid batteries must have their boxes protected by a material that resists corrosion from the sulfuric acid fumes, and airplanes with nickel cadmium batteries must have their battery areas protected with an alkaline resistant finish. These finishes may have a bitumastic (tar) base, a rubber base, or even better, maybe polyurethane finishes. During an inspection, these areas must be carefully checked, especially under the battery, and all traces of corrosion must be removed and the area refinished. Both types of batteries should have some vent jar containing an absorbent pad moist with a neutralizing agent, bicarbonate of soda for a lead acid battery or boric acid for a nickel cadmium battery. These some vent jars should be checked to see that the pads are moist and that there is no leakage. All of the vent openings should be clear and the intake and exhaust lines free are open. If battery electrolyte is spilled during servicing, it must be cleaned up immediately and the area neutralized. Flush with water and neutralize with bicarbonate of soda or lead acid batteries, or with boric acid or vinegar for nickel cadmium installations. The thoroughness of the neutralization can be checked with litmus paper. Blot the water on the surface with a piece of the indicator paper. If the area is acidic, the paper will turn pink. If it is alkaline, it will turn blue. The entire area should be neutral and it should not change the color of the paper. Three, laboratories and food service areas. Organic materials such as food and human waste are highly corrosive to aluminum surfaces, and where this type of material can be spilled, the areas must be inspected with extreme care. Food service areas may be troublesome if there is a possibility of some of the debris from food getting into cracks under or behind the galley, where it cannot be removed. While this material is in itself may not be corrosive, it can hold water which will cause the structure to corrode. The laboratory area is an especially important area to check for corrosion. Human wastes are usually acidic and promote corrosion. Why hurry if allowed to remain on the skin of the airplane or to get into cracks or seams into the structure. Disinfectants may be used that will cause further damage to the aircraft. Be sure to check the disinfectant carried in the airplane to be sure that it is not a type that is harmful to aluminum. The area around and behind the discharge of relief tubes must be inspected carefully for indication of corrosion. These areas should be painted with an acid-proof paint where the discharge contacts the airplane's scale. Number 4 is wheel well and landing gear. Probably no one area of an airplane is subjected to as much hard service as the wheel well area. On takeoff and landing, debris from the runway surface may be thrown up into this area. This can be especially troublesome in the winter when chemicals are used on runways for ice control. Abrasion may remove the protective lubricants and coatings, and water and mud can freeze and cause damage. Corrosion can take place in any of the electrical components, such as anti-skid sensors, squat switches, and limit switches. Bolt heads and nuts on magnesium wheels are susceptible to galvanic corrosion, and concentration cell corrosion can form under the marking tape of ferrules on aluminum tubing. Special care must be taken to search out any area where water can be entrapped. Because of many complicated shapes, assembly and fittings found in the wheel well and landing gear areas, complete area paint film coverage is difficult to attain. A partially applied preservative tends to mask corrosion rather than prevent it. Due to heat generated by braking action, preservatives cannot be used on some main landing gear wheels. During inspection of this area, pay particular attention to the following trouble spots. For this, I will be giving you the figure. Number 1, magnesium wheels, especially around bolt heads, lugs, and wheel web areas, particularly for the presence of entrapped water for its effects. Number 2, exposed rigid tubing, especially at B-nuts and ferrules, under clamps and tubing identification tapes. Number 3, exposed position indicator, switches, and other electrical equipment. Number 4, crevices between stiffeners, ribs, and lower skin surfaces, which are typical water and debris traps. And now next is fifth one is an external skin areas, in which number A is seams and lap joints. One of the first places corrosion appears on the surface of an aircraft is along the seams and lap joints. It is here that concentration cell corrosion frequently appears, and in clad skin it is here that the seared edges of alkali sheet expose the alloy without the protection of the pure aluminum. There is also a danger of water or cleaning solvents becoming entrapped in the lap joint and providing an effective electrolyte. Corrosion may start in a spot welded seam if the spot welding process has left an enlarged grain structure in the metal. The area is then susceptible to corrosion when moisture seeps between the skins. Check carefully for bulging along the spot welds. Hold a straight edge along the row of spot, and if there is corrosion in the seam, the surface will bulge between the spots and show up as a wavy skin. Corrosion in the seam can progress to such a degree that the spots will actually pull apart. Relatively little corrosion trouble is experienced with magnesium skins if the original surface finish and insulations are adequately maintained. Trimming, drilling, or riveting destroy some of the original surface treatment, which is never completely restored by touch-up procedures. Any inspection for corrosion should include all magnesium skin surfaces with special attention to edges, areas around fasteners are and cracked, chipped, or missing paint. Number B, engine inlet areas. One of the most vital parts of an airplane is the area directly in front of the engine where the air is taken in jet aircraft. This area is usually quite large, and air rushes into the engine at a high velocity. Abrasion by the high velocity air and by contaminants carried in the air will tend to remove any protective coating. Abrasion strips along the leading edge or of intake ducts help protect these areas, but careful inspection and maintenance of the finish in these inlet areas is imperative. In this more, these areas are being contained constantly. Engine fuel, frontal area, and cooling air vents. These areas are being constantly abraded with airborne dirt and dust, beads of gravel from runways, and rain erosion which tend to remove the protective finish. Inspection of these areas should include all sections in the cooling air path with special attention to places where salt deposits may be built up during marine operations. It is imperative that incipient corrosion be inhibited and that paint touch-up and hard film preservative coating be maintained intact on seaplane and amphibian engine surfaces at all times. In more about in external skin area, external aircraft structure are readily visible and accessible for inspection and maintenance. Even here, certain types of configurations or combination of materials become troublesome under certain operating conditions and require special attention. Relatively little corrosion trouble is experienced with magnesium skins if the original surface finish and insulation are adequate maintained. Trimming, drilling and riveting destroy some of the original surface treatment, which is never completely restored. By touch-up procedures, any inspection for corrosion should include all magnesium skin surfaces with special attention to edges, areas around fasteners and cracked, chipped or missing paint. Piano type hinges are prime spots for corrosion due to the dissimilar metal contact between the steel pin and aluminum hinge. They are also natural traps for dirt, salt and moisture. Inspection of hinges should include lubrication and actuation through several cycles to ensure complete lubrication penetration. We will go for this more for the piano type hinges. Now, corrosion of metal skin joined by spot welding is the result of the entrance and entrapment of corrosive agent within the layers of metal. This type of corrosion is evidenced by corrosion products appearing at the crevices through which the corrosive agents enter. More advanced corrosive attack causes skin buckling and eventual spot weld fracture. Skin buckling is in its early stages may be detected by sighting along spot welded seams or by using a straight edge. The only technique for preventing this condition is to keep potential moisture entry points including seams and holes created by broken spots weld filled with a sealant or a suitable preservative compound. Is also wing flap and spoiler recesses. Dirt and water may collect in flap and spoiler recesses and go unnoticed because they are normally retracted. For this reason, these recesses are potential control problem areas. Number 7 is inaccessible areas, in which a fuel tank there is probably no single place in an aircraft that is less accessible for inspection and repair than the inside of an integral fuel tank. Yet, especially in jet aircraft, the fuel tanks are highly susceptible to corrosion formation. As we have discussed in the section Anorganic Growth as a cause of corrosion, we have seen that turbine fuel can hold microscopic organisms in suspension until they have an opportunity to join together and grow into the water holding scum, which attaches to the aluminum alloy skin. Sealants used to convert the structure of a being into a fuel tank and impervious to fuel but only resistant to water, and it is possible for water to seep through the sealer and cause oxygen concentration cell corrosion. Corrosion under the sealant is extremely difficult to detect and must usually be found with X-ray or ultrasonic inspection from the outside of the wing. Now in this B, piano hinges. Piano hinges on control surfaces and access doors are ideal locations for the start and development of corrosion. The hinge today is usually made of aluminum alloy, while the pin is of hard carbon steel. Coupled with the fact that these are dissimilar metals, it is almost impossible to keep the cracks and crevices free from moisture. Dirt and dust accumulate and hold moisture between the pin and the hinge body, allowing corrosion to develop. The pin may rust and freeze in the hinge, even breaking off and becoming impossible to remove. Piano hinges should be kept as clean and dry as possible and should be lubricated with a spray which displaces water and leaves an extremely thin film of lubricant, one that will not gum or attract dust. These water displacing lubricants are manufactured to meet MIL-C-16713 specifications. Now number C, control surface recesses. any before. So in control surface recesses, any place of an airplane which is difficult to inspect in areas where corrosion has an opportunity to grow. Some airplanes have area in the wing or impellers when the movable surface recesses back into the fixed surface. Hinges are buried back in these cavities and difficult to lubricate. Special attention must be paid when inspecting these areas to remove every trace of corrosion and provide drains for any water that might collect. A thin film of the same water displacing lubricant as is used for on piano hinges may be used to protect the skin lap joints in these areas. This number D is bulge areas. The bottom of the fuselage below the floor is an area where water and wild forms of liquid and solid debris can accumulate and cause corrosion to form. These areas are ideal for the formation of corrosion because they provide the dissimilar metals and the constant exposure to an electrolyte. Because of their inaccessibility, corrosion can often go undetected until it has caused major damage. Airplanes having area prone to accumulate water have drain holes provided, but since dirt and other debris also collect here, these holes may become clogged and not do their job. On every inspection, be sure all drain holes are clear and inspect carefully an area where the water might possibly stand. Air powder vacuum cleaners may be used to remove dirt or water collected in this area, and a water displacing liquid spray will form a thin film on the surface of the metal to prevent further contact with the electrolyte. Number E is landing gear boxes. There are few areas in a model fixed landing gear airplane that are highly stressed yet as difficult to inspect. As the landing gear box structure, the landing gear attachments into the fuselage by a strong, heavy gauge aluminum alloy box structure which is under the floor and is accessible for inspection only through a relatively small access hole. Water can collect in this area if the drain holes should become plugged. Inspection of these boxes should be thorough, all drains opened and the entire enclosed area generously sprayed with a water displacing lubricant film. Number 8 is an engine mount structures. The heavy current from the starter must return to the battery through the engine mount. This current flowing through joints in the aluminum alloy mount will create the potential difference required for corrosion and cause it to form in these areas. Welded steel tubes mounts are protected from internal corrosion by filling each section of the tubing with hot linseed oil or other type of tubing oil. As much of the oil as possible is drained out and the drain hole is plugged with a drive screw or a self-tapping metal screw. Number 9. Control cables. The cables used in an aircraft control system may be made of either carbon steel or corrosion resistant steel. If carbon steel cables is left unprotected and water is allowed to enter, it will soon corrode and the corrosion that forms on the inside of the cable is difficult to detect. If corrosion is suspected, release the tension from the cable and open the strands by twisting them against the lay. This allows you to see between the strands. Cable with any indication of corrosion should be replaced. Corrosion may be prevented by spraying the cable with a water displacing type of lubricant, or if it is used in a seaplane or exposed to agricultural chemicals, it should be coated with a with a waxy grease such as par al ketone. Now number 10, welded areas. Welded areas, aluminum torch welding require the use of a flux to exclude oxygen from the bed. This flux may contain lithium chloride, potassium chloride, potassium bisulfide or potassium fluoride. These are extremely corrosive to aluminum and all traces of the flux must be removed after the welding is completed. Welding flux is soluble in water and may be removed with a hot water and a non-metallic bristle brush. Aluminum welded by the HALIAR process does not use flux. The welding area is shielded by a flow of argon gas to exclude contaminant. Weld decay is another form of intergranular corrosion. It occurs because the process of welding often produces an undesirable heat treatment adjacent to the welded area, in turn producing separate faces of the metal, one of which may be preferentially attacked under adverse environmental conditions. Now number 11, electronic equipment. The use of copper, lead, tin and other metals in electronic wiring and printed circuits boards makes them a target for corrosion. The fact that electrons are continuously flowing in these conductors and the extremely low volt tolerance for corrosion makes corrosion control in these areas vital. This control is usually accomplished by sealing the wiring and circuit boards with a transparent film which excludes all oxygen and moisture from the surface. Detection and repair of corrosion in these areas is a highly specialized field and is not usually the job of an A&P technician. Last, the number 12, miscellaneous trouble areas. Helicopter rotor heads and gearboxes, in addition to being constantly exposed to the elements, contain bare steel surface, many external working parts and dissimilar metal contacts. These areas should be inspected frequently for evidence of corrosion. The proper maintenance, lubrication and the use of preservative coatings can prevent corrosion in these areas. All control cables, whether plain carbon steel or corrosion resistant steel, should be inspected to determine their condition at each inspection period. Cables should be inspected for corrosion by random cleaning of short section with a solvent-soaked cloth. If external corrosion is evident, tension should be relieved and the cable checked for internal corrosion. Cables with internal corrosion should be replaced. Light external corrosion should be removed with a steel wire brush. When the corrosion products have been removed, recoat the cable with preservative. Now this video is for corrosion removal. I will go in next video for corrosion for aluminum, magnesium, titanium and also for the mercury contaminants. In all in separate videos respectively. Now corrosion removal. In general, any complete corrosion treatment involves the following. Number 1, cleaning and stripping of the corroded area. Number 2, removing as much as of the corrosion products as practicable. Number 3, neutralizing any residual materials remaining in pits and crevices. Number 4, restoring protective surface films. And number 5, applying temporary or permanent coatings or paint finishes. The following paragraphs deal with the corrosive attack on aircraft surface and components, where deterioration has not progressed to the point required rework or structural repair of the part involved. Now, surface cleaning and paint removal. The removal of corrosion necessarily includes removal of surface finishes covering the attacked or suspected area. In order to ensure maximum efficiency of the stripping component, the area must be cleaned of grease, oil, dirt, or preservatives. This preliminary cleaning operation is also an aid in determining the extent of corrosion spread. Since the stripping operation will be held to the minimum consistent with full exposure of the corrosion damage. Extensive corrosion spread on any panel should be corrected by fully treating the entire section. The selection of the type of materials to be used in cleaning will depend on the nature of the matter to be removed. Dry cleaning solvent may be used for removing oil, grease, or soft preservative compounds. For heavy duty removal of thick or dry preservatives, other compounds of the solvent emulsion type are available. The use of a general purpose water rinsable stripper is recommended for most applications. Wherever practicable, paint removal from any large area should be accomplished outside in open air and preferably in shaded areas. If inside removal is necessary, adequate ventilation must be assured. Synthetic rubber surfaces including aircraft tires, fabric and acrylics must be thoroughly protected against possible contact with paint remover. Care must also be exercised in using paint remover around gas or water tight seam sealants, since the material will tend to soften and destroy the integrity of the sealants. Mask of any opening that would permit in stripping compound to get into aircraft interiors or critical cavities. Paint stripper is toxic and contains ingredients harmful to both skin and eyes. Rubber gloves, aprons of acid repellent material and goggles type eyeglasses should be worn if any extensive paint removal is to be accomplished. The following is a general stripping procedure. Number 1. Brush the entire area to be stripped with cover of stripper to a depth of 1/32 to 1/16 inch. Any point brush makes a satisfactory applicator, except that the bristles will be loosened by the effect of paint remover or remover on the binder, and the brush should not be used for other purposes after being exposed to paint remover. Number 2. Allow the stripper to remain on the surface for a sufficient length of time to wrinkle and lift the paint. This may be from 10 minutes to several hours, depending on both the temperature and humidity and the condition of the paint coat being removed. Scrub the surface with a bristle brush saturated with paint remover to further loosen finish that may still be adhering to the metal. Number 3. Reapply the stripper as necessary in areas that remain tight or where the material has dried, and repeat the above process. Only non-metallic scrapers may be used to assist in removing persistent paint finishes. Number 4. Remove the loosened paint and residual stripper by washing and scrubbing the surface with water and a broom or brush. If water spray is available, use a low to medium pressure stream of water directly on the scrubbing broom or brush. If steam cleaning equipment is available and the area is sufficient large, cleaning may be accomplished using this equipment together with a solution of stream cleaning compound on small areas. Any method may be used that will assure complete rinsing of the cleaned area. From the second text, regardless of the type of corrosion or the metal involved, corrosion removal and treatment will follow three basic steps. Number 1, remove as much as the corrosion as possible. Number 2, neutralize any residual material. Number 3, restore the protective surface film. Now, number 1, surface preparation. Although not readily apparent, it is extremely important to use only cleaning compounds, paint removers and other chemicals that are recommended by the aircraft manufacturer or an MIL SPEC approved for the particular applications. Using any unapproved or ordinary compounds may result in the condition known as hydrogen embrittlement. Hydrogen embrittlement results when hydrogen gas formed by a chemical reaction is absorbed into a metal, subsequently reducing its ductility and allowing cracking, stress, corrosion and other forms of incept failure. In this cleaning, the first and most important step in corrosion control is a thorough cleaning of the airplane. An emulsion type cleaner that meets MIL-C-25769 specification does an excellent job of removing grime, dirt, exhaust residue and dried oil and grease deposits. The airplane should be parked on a wash rack or in an area where it can be hosed down, preferably in an area where the sun will not dry the surface before the cleaner has time to penetrate the film. For the main part of the exterior of the airplane, use a 1.5 or 1.3 dilution of the cleaner with water. Brush or spray the mixture onto the surface and allow it to stand for a few minutes. Then rinse it off with a high pressure stream of warm water. The engine cowling and wheel well area usually have grease or oil deposits that this treatment will not remove, so they must be soaked with a 1 to 2 dilution of the emulsion cleaner. After allowing the cleaner to remain on the surface for a few minutes, scrub it with a soft bristle brush to completely loosen the film, and rinse it with a high pressure stream of warm water. Stubborn exhaust stains may require a 1 to 2 mixture of the cleaner with Varsol or kerosene. Mix these ingredients into a creamy emulsion and apply it to the surface. Let it stand for a few minutes, then work all the loosened residue with a bristle brush and hose it off with a high pressure stream of warm water. This treatment may be repeated if the first time does not remove all of the stain. The selection of the type of materials is to be used in cleaning will depend on the nature of the matter to be removed. Dry cleaning solvent may be used for removing wild grease or soft preservative compounds. For heavy duty removal of thick or dried preservatives, other compounds of the solvent emulsion type are available. For this I am giving you figure to understand which type of abrasives that may be used for corrosion removal. Now number B is paint removal. After the surface is completely clean and it is determined that corrosion does not exist, the damage must be carefully assessed and a decision must be made as to what action should be taken. All corrosion products must be removed as soon as they are discovered, because corrosion will continue as long as the deposit remain on the surface. Corrosion under a paint films cannot be thoroughly inspected without first removing all of the paints. But before using any paint remover with which you are not familiar, first test it on a piece of metal similar to that which you will be working. If no adverse effects are apparent, it is safe to use. Do not use a caustic paint remover. All areas not to be stripped should be masked with heavy aluminum foil to prevent the stripper accidentally coming into contact with these areas. Water rinsable paint remover having a syrupy consistency is usually best for aircraft surfaces. This type of remover is applied with a brush by daubing it on the surface rather than brushing it on. Cover the surface with a heavy coating of remover and allow it to stand until the paint swells and wrinkles up. This breaks the bond between the finish and the metal. It may be necessary to reapply the remover. If so, scrap the old paint away with a plastic or aluminum scraper and apply the second coat of remover. This allows the active chemicals to get to the lower layers of the finish. When stripping large areas, spread a sheet of polythene plastic over the wet paint remover to slow its drying time. After all of the finish has swelled up and broken away from the surface, it should be rinsed off with hot water or with live steam. A steel bristle brush will most probably have to be used around rivet heads and along the seams to get all the stubborn paint that adheres to these places as shown in the figure. Before that, I have to give one more figure which I have left. An aircraft must be kept as clean as possible, and an emulsifying cleaner is the most effective way of loosening stubborn dirt after the dirt has been loosened. It should be washed off with high pressure warm water. Caution must be observed whenever you use any paint remover. Many solvents used in paint removers attack rubber and synthetic rubber product. Tires, hoses and seals must be protected from contact with paint removers. These solvents are also highly toxic and special care must be taken that none of them get onto your skin or in your eyes. If paint remover is spilled or splashed on your skin, flush the area with water immediately. If any gets into your eyes, flood them with water and get to a doctor as soon as possible. My video must be read with conjunction with the appropriate manufacturer's publications for the aircraft concerned. Now, many of the processes recommended are covered by specification issued by the Minister of Defence or the British Standard Institutions. Since these specifications are frequently used, the alphabetical suffix of each DTD specification has been omitted, but the application of any particular process should always conform to the latest issue of the relevant specification. All processes should be approved by the aircraft manufacturer. Now, number 2, I am giving you the treatment of the structural parts. Wherever corrosion is found in aircraft, it is essential that the corrosion products should be completely removed. This is necessary for two reasons. Firstly, to permit the extent of the damage to be assessed, and secondly, because the presence of corrosion products assists in the continuation of the attack. The full value of protective treatments will only be achieved if the surfaces are thoroughly cleaned and the treatment are applied immediately after cleaning. Now, first is preliminary cleaning of corroded areas. Parts which cannot be removed for cleaning should have all oil, grease, moisture and surface dirt cleaned off before the application of corrosion removing chemicals. Oil and grease should be wiped off with rags soaked in organic solvent such as trichloroethylene fluid in bracket BS 580 and again in bracket type 2 or other suitable grade, or a mixture of equal volumes of white spirit in bracket BS 245 and either in bracket A solvent naphtha in bracket BS 479 or B small b 3 in Gylon in bracket BS 458 used at room temperature as recommended in DEF STAN 03-2. In bracket degreasing product procedures are detailed in specified DEF 1234. Surface dirt should be removed with detergent solution using hand brushes with non-metallic bristles such as nylons. Note: trichloroethylene decreasing process. The precautions necessary when used with certain metals are described in separate leaflet. Now number 2, removal of old protective coatings. To facilitate the inspection and reprotection of corroded surfaces, the protective coatings in the vicinity of the damage should be removed. Whenever possible, this should be done chemically, as mechanical methods such as wire brushing, grinding or rubbing with emery may overheat the surface or remove an undesirable amount of material. There is also the danger that abrasive method may drag surface metal over the corroded area or cause particles to become embedded, which will cause further corrosion later. Number 3, air blast abrasive equipment has proved satisfactory, particularly for relatively large areas of surface corrosion removal. The abrasive must in all cases be aluminum oxide or glass beads, never silicon carbide, for coarse and rapid removal. The particle size should not exceed 180 mesh in bracket 0.08 millimeter, and for fine control the size should be 400 to 600 mesh in bracket 0.038 to 0.025 millimeter. Due to the possibility of cladding removal from aluminum skins and cadmium plating from steel fastener, etc., abrasive blasting should only be considered if a complete organic finish is to be applied. Now in this 3, number 1 is removing organic coatings. Non-flammable paint strippers should be used to remove paint varnishes, synthetic enamels, cellulose, etc. For this, we have to see DEF STAN 80-16 and manufacturer's recommendations. A number of proprietary solutions are available which are satisfactory for the majority of organic coatings. They are neutral and will not attack the underlying metal provided they are rinsed off after the paint has been removed. The stripper should be brushed over the paint left on the surface for a few minutes, and the loosened paint when wiped off with a cloth, aluminum, wool or non-metallic material. Example: wood, Teflon or suitable plastics materials. Still, wool should not be used. Now number 2, on this 3, where a paint coating is required to be repaired or renewed in localized area only, surrounding area should be masked by means of suitable tapes, and these should be removed at suitable stages during the painting process to prevent subsequent contamination of later stages, and as soon as practicable after completion of the painting operation. Now number 3, in 3, Where damage or removal of pressure cabin sealants or other sealing or stopping materials has occurred, this should be renewed either before or at some convenient point during repainting operations. Where stowing materials have been used originally, these may be replaced with an approved air drying scheme compatible with the original. Note: the effects of certain strippers or adhesive bonded joints, plastic parts and windows should be borne in mind. We have earlier gone, and care should be taken to avoid caustic strippers on aluminum alloys. Rubber gloves and goggles should be worn to prevent any contact between the stripper and the skin. Now in 3.4, when the paint has been removed, all traces of the stripper and residue should be removed by one of the following methods. In bracket DEF STAN 03-7, in which A is water miscible paint remover, washing with clean water and drying, followed by solvent cleaning. B, solvent miscible paint remover, washing with the appropriate solvent only. Now 5 of 3, removing chemical coatings. It is not always essential to remove chemical coatings such as anodic films from aluminum alloys or phosphate coats from steels, as it is generally impossible to restore chemical coatings without removing the part and immersing it in a suitable bath. It is sometimes advisable to retain as much as possible of the original coating, and after local cleaning of the corroded areas, to apply one of the brush on process mentioned in paragraph 3 of 1, which we will go for, which we had read earlier. Which we will read more again in further para, followed by organic coatings for subsequent protections. If the affected parts can be removed, it is preferable to clean them completely and then reprotected by the original method. In this, A is anodic film. Anodic films may be removed from aluminum alloys by the application of a solution of 10% sulfuric acid by volume in water, 4% by weight of potassium fluoride. For this, we have to see the leaflet, another leaflet. Now B, chromate films. Magnesium alloy which can be immersed should be cleaned as recommended in a leaflet. Local cleaning where immersion is not justified can be effected by swabbing with a solution of 100 gram of chromic anhydride in 1 liter of water with 14 drops of concentrated sulfuric acid added. In bracket 2 ounce of chromic anhydride in 1 pint of water with 8 drops of concentrated sulfuric acid added. Where parts are not machined to fine tolerances, abrasion with fine in epsilon comma wet glass paper is permissible. The glass paper should be well wetted before use and care should be taken to prevent abrasive particles from remaining embedded in the surface. After rubbing down, the chromic sulfuric and solution should be applied and left on the surface for 2 or 3 minutes. The surface should finally be washed off with generous quantity of water and thoroughly dried. Now C, phosphate films. Phosphate films on steel are generally tenacious and are not easy to remove with immersion in acid solutions. To clean a small area of a part in situ, mechanical cleaning is usually most satisfactory, but when complete stripping is required, a dip in dilute hydrochloric acid is recommended. For this, I will go for the next paragraph when I will read. Now, sixth of this, removing metallic coatings. Coatings of cadmium, zinc, nickel, copper, and tin are frequently used to protect steel, aircraft parts. Light alloys are usually protected by other methods. Immersion in an acid solution is usually the most effective method of removing a metallic coating, but it should be remembered that the removal of original deposit before replating is necessary only if the thickness of the deposit is critical. Mechanical cleaning is also used on occasions, particularly if the old deposit is flaking or peeling. But whichever method is used, care should always be taken to avoid removing too much material, especially on parts to close dimensional tolerances. Now, in this paragraph number 4, removal of corrosion products. Although the cleaning methods, earlier I have given 3 of 2, 3 of 3. No, it was 2 of that. Now it is 2 of 4. Removal of corrosion products. Although the cleaning method outlined in paragraph 2 of 1 and 2 of 2 will remove superficial corrosion surfaces which have been seriously attacked, may still retain powdered oxide, salt crystals, etc. in pits and surface cavities. Chemicals suitable for cleaning each of the principal materials used in aircraft construction are available, but in some cases the chemicals will themselves cause corrosion if they penetrate fairing surfaces. There is also evidence that some pickling and electrochemical polishing techniques have an adverse effect on fatigue life, and this aspect should receive serious consideration when selecting cleaning process for parts which are subjected to fluctuating stress in service. When doubt exists regarding the corrosive nature and of certain chemicals, they should be tested as recommended in the following paragraph. Now, in this 2 of 4 of 1, test for cleaning chemicals, in which number A, prepare 2 panels of approximately 9 cm square, that is 1 square feet area from material of the same specification as that to be treated. Number B, apply the chemical to be tested to one face for each test piece and clamp the treated faces together. Number C, expose the sandwich test panels to alternate humid and dry atmospheric condition in temperature conditions of 38 degrees centigrade or in bracket 100 degree Fahrenheit. About 16 hours a day in humid conditions and 8 hours a day in dry condition is recommended. Now D, after approximately 10 days, the panels should be separated, rinsed and scrubbed and examined for corrosion. Number E, the chemical will be acceptable if the metal is only lightly edged, but should not be used on the aircraft if it has caused deep pitting or intergranular corrosion of the test panels.